Hi, in this video we will learn how to do simple lookups in AutoGIC. Lookups help you to join information between different models and return a consolidated information data. Before proceeding to a practical example, I would just like to show you provide you some theoretical information. Assume that you've got a user model in AutoGIC where you will be modeling the user information like the email, password, and profile information of the user. The profile is a submodel of a user, and under this submodel we've got the gender, birthday, and occupation information. Sometimes you might prefer to store this information in a different way. Sometimes you might prefer saying that, hey, I will be strictly storing the user related information like the simple email and password and name information to users model, but profile information, which might be some like sensitive information like the gender or birthday, I would like to store it in a different model called profile, and from the user model I will be having a reference to the profile through the profile ID, where the profile ID value will be equal to the ID of the profile object that I will be storing in the database. And actually when you do a lookup on the user model, and if you select the profile ID field, the lookup field, then whenever you get fetch data from the database for users, then AutoGIC will be merging the profile information, getting that profile information from the profile model, combine it and return a single object, user object, which will also include the profile information, including the gender, birthday, and occupation. If I don't do a lookup, then in that case AutoGIC will return back this user information without any lookups, and it will just return the profile ID, which will be the ID of the profile. Okay, let's do a practical example what we mean and how we can use this thing. Let's create a new application called Simple Lookup. Okay, and for this application we will be using a basic template. Let's create our models first. Let's get into the application. Okay, so we already have a user's model by default provided by the basic template. What I will be doing is the following. I will be creating a new model called profile. Okay, then I don't need the endpoints for this one for now, and under this profile I will be adding some information, like let's put here the gender. Okay, another information would be date of birth, birthday. Another one would be occupation. Okay, and from the user's model we will be having an object reference to the profile. Let's call it profile ID, and this will be pointing to an object in the profile model. So we completed the definition of our data model, simple data model, two models, users and profile, and from the users we got the reference to the profile. Okay, let's create a service for creating a new user. Okay, let's call it like create new user, and this will be a post request, and this will be the path will be user's path. The routed service will be create new user. Okay, that's it. Let's go to this service. As an input to this service we will be getting a user's object in request body. Then what we will be doing is the following. We will first get the body of the request. Okay, this is the body, which will be a user object. Sorry, double click on this one. Okay, then we will be creating this entry in the database. Create single object, this one. The user will be input to this one, and we will be creating a user object in the database. This is like a top level object. We don't need a kind of like a parent ID. That's fine. Then we will be returning back response to created user object in the database. Okay, that's the first service we have. Okay, the second service, the second endpoint we will be creating is the following. Let's get the list of the users in the database. This will be a get request to users, and this will be a new service, get users. Okay, then if I go to this service, there is no input to this one. It's basically get multi objects by query. What we will be doing is we will be getting the list of the users, no select query, no filter query, nothing, just pagination. Then as a response, I will be returning back the users in the database. Okay, let's create an environment to test these two endpoints. Let's put a development environment. I will be deploying this snapshot to this development. Then I will be launching the test panel. Okay, if I run this thing, it will be empty because we don't have any kind of user data in the database. Let's create an entry in the database. We don't need to profile picture right now. I just will be putting here that actually I don't need this thing. My name, profile, password. I need the password information. That's it. Okay, let's put it john@email.com. Name will be John. And the password will be 123456. Let's run this thing. Okay, this first user created. Let's run this get list of users. It returns information about John. Let's create a new user. Let's put it Mary. I get the same password. Okay, the second entry also created. Let's get the list of users. If I run this thing, I've got 2 entries in the database. Okay, they don't have any profile information right now. So let's create another endpoint called setProfile. This will be a post request. This will be users. Then we will have user ID in the path parameter as a path parameter. Then we will have a profile. Okay. Then the routed service will be setProfile. Same thing. Okay. If I go to the service of this one, this will basically get as an input a profile object. Okay. Then what we will be doing is the following. We will be getting the profile information, get object value, because this is in the body of the request. I need to get the body of the request. Okay. Body. Okay. Then I will be create a single object. Right. Create a single object in the profile. We will be creating a new profile. Then no caching and so on. That's fine. Then what we will be doing is the following. This will create the profile object. It will return the newly created profile object. Then what I need to do is I need to update the user object with the profile information. Okay. Update single object but ID. Sorry, update object fields by ID. This is it. Okay, which one we will be updating? We will be updating the user. What's the object ID? What's the user ID? This will be coming from the params IDs, user ID. This user ID I will be updating. Which field I will be updating? I will be updating the profile ID. Where is the profile ID? This one. What will be the value of the profile ID? The profile ID value will be coming from the created ID. Because this created one is the profile object that is created in the database. I'm getting the ID of that one and assigning it to the profile of the ID of the user. Okay. And as a response back, okay, I can return success response. I can return back both the user and also the profile information. Okay. So the updated is basically the user, the created one is basically the profile. Okay. Of course, I need to run this thing within a transaction context because I've got 2 database operations running here. Let's put it a transaction. Let's call it T1. Okay. Create single object. The database transaction will be running on the T1 context, and the update will also be running on the T1 context. Just to be sure, I mean, if there's an error happening something here or something here, we will be either committing and rolling back the let's say the transaction. Okay, so we also configured this setProfile, okay, method, so endpoint. So let's test this thing. setProfile. Okay, get users. We will be setting the profile information for John. Okay, this is the ID of John. If I go back here, this is the ID of John. Okay, gender male. Let's put it like 2001. Just getting rid of this timestamps part. Occupation, let's put it like, I don't know, engineer, whatever, or student, let's put it. It can be like a university student. Okay, let's run this thing. It has successfully run. As you can see, we got the user information, which updated the profile ID. The profile ID is matching with the ID of the profile. Okay, so we successfully updated the profile for John. If I fetch the users, look carefully, we got the profile ID right now. Okay, so then we got all the data that we need to do a simple lookup. How we will be doing the lookup? Let me show you how we will be doing the lookup. If you go back to our get users endpoint, this will be fetching the user information. There is the lookup fields section here. If I click on that one, I'm saying that I will be merging the profile ID with the model profile, then getting the data for that specific user. And for simple lookups, I will be using the equality match, meaning that the profile ID will be matching the ID of the profile. Okay. If I do this thing, if I go back to my endpoint, if I run this thing, look carefully here. Okay. As you can see, AutoGIS successfully looked up profile information, merged it, and replaced the profile ID with the actual profile information and return back the data. Since we don't have any profile information for Mary, it doesn't display anything here. Okay, so that's it for the simple lookups and how to do that one. But in short, how you do is that when you define your data model for simple lookups, you need to put references to the object that you will be looking up for. In this case, the profile ID will be referencing a profile object to its ID. And in the database, whenever we create the user or update the user, we need to assign the ID of the profile to the profile ID so that the lookup works correctly. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks a lot for watching.